Hi, this is El from Albopepper.com. Today we're going to look at some ideas for fruiting trees that you can use in more of an urban setting where you're very limited on space, but you'd very much like to be able to grow some fruit trees. So let's look at a few different things that would allow you, even in a small space, to be able to grow some nice fresh fruit of your own. First up, we have an espalier pear tree. And an espalier planting involves training a tree to grow along some sort of a two-dimensional surface. There are a lot of different ways that you can go about training an espalier, but this setup here uses a 3-tier system using horizontal cordons, and actually this is a grafted Asian pear. On each level there is a different variety of Asian pear that has been grafted on. So I actually have 3 unique varieties. They're all growing on this single plant, giving you variety in a small form. And you can see that I have this wire that I've stretched along so I can continue to tie this to the wire. Then I'll hopefully get some nice spur wood, which is the fruiting wood. But this is something that you can grow in the front of a wall of a building or a fence. And you see how very little space that this takes up, and you can actually get a nice amount of fruit from one of these as it starts to mature. I really think that an espalier is an excellent solution for someone that is an urban gardener, limited on space, but wants to have some fruit trees. In this spot here, I have 2 columnar apple trees. Each is a different variety. And what's nice with the columnar trees is that you get, well, growth that's similar to a column or a pillar shape. So very vertical growth. You don't have a lot of side branching. On this one here, it's a little bit of a more mature tree. It could be possibly a year older, and you see more side growth that's coming out, but look at how much it protrudes. Very, very little. So you can get a very nice tight growth, and then when the apples form, it flowers and the actual fruit sets very close to the trunk, to the primary branch of this tree, and it all kind of bundles around. So you don't have this massive canopy of all these apples that fall down all over the ground and start rotting, like you see where some people that have trees that will actually neglect because they're overwhelmed by how much one single tree can put out. But a columnar is great. You can put these along a fence or along a property line and maybe do a bunch of them in a row and get a nice hedge effect and be able to have some fruit to show for it. That might be a direction that you'd like to try as well. And here is the final example using a backyard orchard high density planting. This is an apricot tree that I only put in the spring, and you can see how it's already had some good development on it. And what I'm doing is I'm managing the size in such a way that the overall canopy won't really get much taller than how high I can reach, so that I never have to get on a ladder or anything to harvest, yet I can have a nice full, more conventionally sized and styled fruit tree, but it's very tightly sized managed. And to set up one of these, what's really imperative is that you get one right from the beginning when it's very young and start first thing. When I put it in the ground in March, what I did was I cut right here with a pair of loppers and just lopped the whole branch, the whole trunk that I planted at around 18 inches off of the ground. So all that there was initially in the spring was just a nubbin, just this 18-inch thing poking up out of the ground. But through the spring and summer, you can see how I got some growth, and I actually selected some nicely spaced out branches to try to create the good shape that I'm going to be relying on for some scaffolding branches that will support all the weight of the fruit and the tree itself as it develops. In the winter, I'm probably going to cut this way down, but I'll get a lot of growth again through the next season, and I'll have a very nice structure in place that will allow me to have a tight tree that, rather than having to go and reach up, let's say 4 feet into the air before you get to any fruit, instead, right down low to the ground within 2 feet, you'll already have some fruit that's forming, that's available for you to be able to pick and use. This is an apricot. I have another apricot over here, and on the sides I have 2 peaches, so a peach on each side. And this apricot has just really been taking off. I did have branches that were kind of sagging more horizontal, and I wanted more vertical growth. So what I did to deal with that is I tied them together and tried to pull them in to make more of a cupping effect. And I think that that's taken. I think that that's done pretty well. On this peach tree, I was using the same approach, but I want to show you a unique challenge that I encountered and what I did to address it for this year. Like all the rest, I cut this at around 18 to 20 inches off the ground, but it never budded. So whenever the tree broke dormancy and all the buds shot out, rather than budding from the top in the basic area where the cut was, instead both of the peaches actually sprouted further down, and the buds came out very, very low. Right here in that area is where a graft is, grafting the cyan fruiting part onto the rootstock. So I did get buds that were from the proper fruiting wood that I want. It's just that for some reason those buds came out way down there. And you can see what I did. I decided to select a couple and to tie them tight to that main branch that I was trying to get everything to grow from. And instead now I have these branches that are parallel to that, following the same basic shape, and I may just let them all grow together, and I'll try to build some branching, scaffolding branches from this and see what I can get to work for the next season. But I didn't lose the plant. I had a lot of good vigorous growth, and I'll just do a little bit of regrouping for the spring. But I'll be able to have these 3 trees all along here, along the property. It'll create a nice visual barrier and give me lots of fruit, more than what I may need actually, without demanding all kinds of space. If you're tired of the pathetic looking fruit that you find at the grocery store, and you have some space upon which you could plant something, the Columnars, the Espaliers, or even this backyard orchard style of planting can allow you to be able to grow your own fresh fruit that is picked when it's ripe. And there's something to be said for that these days. I think you probably understand what I'm talking about if you've been at the grocery store and bought any fruit recently. So I encourage you to see if there's something that you can incorporate into your yard, into your landscaping, that would allow you to receive some of those benefits of growing your own fruit. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I encourage you to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed any of the information, and you can always find some cool information on my website at albopepper.com, so feel free to go there and see if there's anything that may be useful for you as well.